We are live. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
So,
Nobody's watching it.
okay, I don't know why it's posted in the past as being in different languages, but like it's done. I feel like that's Spanish,
That is, yeah, Spanish.
and that's
Chinese.
one of the Oriental languages.
It's Chinese.
Are you positive?
It's probably like simplified Chinese.
It's in Spanish again.
Oh my gosh.
So confusing. I don't understand.
Something's wrong with your YouTube.
Oops. No, take away the retweet. I need to quote the retweet.
Where is it?
Join us for our
Why did it disappear?
hashtag travel podcast tonight. Live now. Smiley face.
Face is smiling.
My favorite is the audio doesn't catch any of this. Well, I mean, like for the actual audio podcast. So the video has some fun things that the.
There we go.
Did it just post to Facebook?
It posted, double posted to Twitter.
Yeah, I hit retweet and then I hit actually like quote the tweet. I posted to my private page. Sometimes it doesn't post to the Livy Dawn page, and then I have to go in and actually manually post it, which is annoying. Okay, yep. Woohoo! Yeah! Okay. I am going to start recording the audio.
3, 2, 1.
And we're live! Oh, don't actually. Sorry, y'all. You know there's always technical difficulties with these things. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Liv's Library. I am one of the hosts, Livy Dawn, and I'd like to introduce you to our other host. This is Michelle. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
If you guys watched a couple weeks ago, what was the topic on that one? Friendship. It kind of went from friendship to other places as well, which was fun.
Getting out of the friend zone.
I loved it. So if you guys watched that particular episode, that was with my friend Nicolas,
Hey.
and this happens to be his mother. Woohoo! So there's that. Also, I'm just going to tell y'all, please bear with us. We, all three of us, are not feeling very well tonight. We're all kind of a little under the weather. So please be patient if there are things that happen that just happen because of health issues. So
Yeah, drinks, Kleenex, things like that.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. The topic of this week is travel. I'm going to ask some questions to get to know you a little better, and then we'll
Sure.
jump on into there. Okay, so what is your favorite quote?
Oh, my favorite quote, hands down. Get busy living or get busy dying. It's from Shawshank Redemption.
I love that.
Words to live by.
For real. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay, your current favorite song?
Oh, my current favorite song. Is this one that you ask every week?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Yeah. She watches, so
I do watch, so I'm really surprised I don't have a favorite song because I don't listen to the radio that much. But
that's why I say current favorite,
yeah.
because
well, since Deadpool, it's been Shoop. I've been listening to Shoop a lot.
All right, that's a good one. That's a good one for sure. Okay, what's a unique fact about yourself?
I was going to be a nun when I was a young girl.
Wow. I'm very glad that you didn't end up being a nun, because that means you had a family and I got to be very good friends with you. So.
And I'm a Latter-day Saint now too, right?
Yeah.
So,
that just wouldn't have happened.
It would not have happened.
Oh man. Okay. What about? Okay, this one's for the camera.
Okay.
You got to do this one.
Yep.
Your funny face. Yes, thank you. And then for those who are listening to the audio that don't get to see the funny face, so you get to make your favorite animal noise.
I have chickens, so.
That's a good one. That's great. And you're very good at that sound.
I know that was Nick did a chicken too.
That's hilarious. I can't remember who did what, but I need to start making a list and maybe like do a sound bite of everybody, because I think that would be really funny. What is your favorite cheese?
Provolone.
All right.
I'm Italian, I have to.
So with provolone, I'm going to ask a side question for this
Sure.
because I'm not normally the biggest fan of provolone. What's the best way to like eat it so that you get the nice flavor of the cheese,
Yeah.
but then you also can enjoy it?
Well, here's a fun fact about provolone that people don't know. Provolone's aged mozzarella.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I love mozzarella.
Yeah, provolone, aged mozzarella. It depends on how you eat it, right?
Uh-huh.
So if you get a soft provolone, you can use that on sandwiches or cheesesteaks,
Mm-hmm.
or I use it on my pizza.
Oh. That's
If you get a sharp provolone, that's a little harder, and usually slice that and eat that with bread or just with crackers.
okay.
Or if you're me and you go to Italy and you have a hotel room that the refrigerator only works when you're in the room and you've bought a block of provolone, you and your mom have to sit in the yard and eat the whole block of cheese so it doesn't go bad. That actually happened.
Why on earth did the refrigerator only work when you were in?
So we got this really great deal on Expedia. It was like $35 a night for this kind of bed and breakfast place.
Okay.
And when we got there, we discovered that they had the room key was on this big wooden block, and it had like almost like a bike chain attached to it, like a bike block. And there was 2 keys on it. One key was for your room, and the other key you put in the wall, and when you turned it, the power came on in your room. Because before we went to Italy, we saw that the room that we had got had a refrigerator in it.
Mm-hmm.
So before we checked in, we went to the store and we bought yogurt and provolone cheese and bread and all of these things. And then when we got to the room, we discovered that the only way that the refrigerator worked is if the electricity was on. And the only way the electricity was on is if you put the key in the wall and turned it. And when you left your room, they expected you to take the key and put it on the front desk. So every time you left your room, you had to turn the power off to the room when the refrigerator wouldn't work. So it was kind of a silly system.
That's really
So my mom
silly.
and I sat there and ate this whole block of provolone cheese. I was like, I couldn't eat sharp provolone for a really long time after that.
That's really funny. But it's still your favorite cheese.
It's still my favorite cheese. It is.
That's great. Okay, what's your favorite cereal?
Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries. Although I really just kind of like the Crunch Berries.
I can tell you on that one.
Yeah. But I don't eat it so much anymore because, you know, I'm old lady now. So I like oatmeal squares.
Okay.
I use those when I do my road trips.
I love like the Quaker squares.
The little
Yeah.
tiny ones, yeah.
Those
They're
are
really
so good. I
crunchy.
just munch on them. Like
Yeah.
I don't ever.
That
like,
is
have
my
milk or
go-to
anything with
cereal for road trips
them. Oh my
because
gosh.
when you're driving long distances, you can eat things that are crunchy to help you stay awake, and those are about the crunchiest thing that you can get in the way of cereal. So
That's
Yeah.
great. My other favorite thing about those is you can put them in a bag, like, and they fit into really tight spaces. And if they do like crunch up a little bit, it's not a big deal because they
yeah,
still
it's
taste
kind
the
of like
same.
shredded wheat,
Exactly.
except shredded oats, right?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you on that one. That's a great favorite. Okay, my last question for you is, what is your favorite book or current favorite that you're reading
Okay.
right now?
I actually brought it with me because I knew you were going to ask me this. And the book is called Macchia di Zernia, and it's by Antonio Grano. And this is a book about a village that part of my family comes from in Italy. And it's written in Italian. And when I went there for the first time and met them, they gave this to me. And this book was written by this guy who brought like a bunch of students, and they interviewed all of the really old people in the town
Mhm.
and asked questions about what life was like at the turn of the last century, so in the early 1900s.
Whoa.
And so each chapter talks about like their health and talks about their home. Sometimes they talk about festivals or things that they did in the city. And the really cool thing is I've been translating this book into English. And when I was visiting the town about 6 months ago, I had my cousin take me to some of the places that were talked about in here to show me. And so it was really kind of cool putting a place and an image with the things that I've read about. And then the really interesting thing is some of the people in here that were interviewed were my family. And so like here, this is one of my dad's second cousins.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
So I've been really working on this and working on writing a book about people from this village. And so this has come in handy to learn a little bit more about what life was like in the 1800s and the early 1900s. So I spend a lot of time with this book.
I love that. That's awesome. And I love that you have such a personal connection to the book too.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you brought a book that's actually perfect. You mentioned a little bit of it,
Yeah.
but then we use that particular question and spin it into the
It's a
introduction
great
for the
segue,
travel.
right?
Exactly. So exactly like this book, you said you traveled over there and you saw some things. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
That's how we'll jump into the travel.
So I started traveling to Europe about 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. after I started working on my family history, learning a little bit more about where my family was from in Italy, and traveled around the Italian countryside, learned to speak Italian. And in each village that I visit, I would just go up to the first person that I saw, introduce myself, tell them this is my family, this is my family name. Do you know anybody in the village with that name? Or sometimes I would bring printouts from the white pages, and very quickly, because these villages are really tiny, they would say, oh yeah, you know, I know so-and-so. Let's go down into their house and talk to them. And in each village I went to, I was able to find my family. And so I've visited multiple times over the last 10 years to get to know my second and third cousins. And the most fun story I have is the second time I visited Macchia d'Isernia, my mom and I went, and I had a contact that I spent a lot of time on email with. And when I went to that village the second time, I went up to an old gentleman that was in the piazza, and I introduced myself, and I asked if he knew where Alfredo Beltrante was. And he looked at me very sad and said, Alfredo Beltrante is dead. And I was like, what? No, that's not possible. I just emailed him last week. No, Alfredo Beltrante, he's dead. So we went inside the little cafe that's in the piazza, and he said to the barmaid, Alfredo Beltrante, he's dead, right? Yeah. And I'm in tears now, and I'm thinking, this can't be possible. And so before you knew it, the whole entire bar was filled with people from the village, because word spread that quickly that somebody from America was in town and they were looking for Alfredo. And then all of these cars pulled up and people came in, and the one woman, she was like, I'm Liliana Beltrante, I'm your family, and we've been waiting for you, we've been waiting. And I said, why is everyone telling me that Alfredo is dead? She's like, well, yeah, my father Alfredo, he's dead. And I said, that's not possible, I just emailed him last week. And she says, oh, you mean my nephew Alfredo? He doesn't live here, he lives in another city, he lives up in the north in the city.
Goodness.
And so there's a lot of confusion, but they were so hospitable. They piled us in their car and took us back to their home, and we just had a really wonderful time visiting with them. And so now I go and I stay with them, and I've gotten to know them really well.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I love that you went back. I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this particular topic, and I've explained this to you and I've explained it to everyone else, I'm getting ready to go to Germany in 6 days. Technically 5, because it's almost midnight and I'm that person. Yes, I am. But I'm really, really excited. I leave on Sunday and I'm going out to Germany, and a lot of my family is from Germany. I haven't really gotten into like family history all that much, at least on that side of my family.
We've got 6 days to do your research so that we can figure out where you're from, and you can go visit while you're there.
Oh my gosh, that would be so cool.
There's something amazing when you go to the place where your ancestors are from, and you're there, even if you don't find any living people, if you just go and you walk there where they were, and there's a special connection that you have, and it's really hard to explain to somebody until they're actually there and they experience it, but we absolutely can figure out that.
I would love 6 days. Deal. It's going to happen. That's one of the biggest reasons why I decided to go to Germany, is because my dad's side of the family is from there. The last name, Horlacher, is German and Dutch. It's a mix of German and Dutch, and I really wanted to go out there. I mean, I'm going out to visit a friend, and that was kind of the thing that sparked my going out there. But if I was ever going to visit a country, Germany was one of the top on the list, and it's a language that I want to learn because it is my ancestral.
Your native tongue.
Exactly. So I'm really, really excited about that. So getting into that a little bit, I am getting ready to leave on Sunday, and I'm not quite sure. I haven't packed anything. I'm kind of that person that packs like the night before so that I don't forget anything, so I have everything there. So if I wear something that week that I want to take with me, I can.
Watch it, yeah.
So what are some of your maybe travel hacks that you would offer?
First, pack light. Absolutely pack light. Take less than you think you're going to need. Take things that you can rewear or wash very easily. Sure, since you're going to be staying with your friend, you probably will have access to laundry. But I just find that the things that were surprising to me were cars are much smaller in Europe. And so if you bring lots of luggage, half the time you can't even fit your luggage into the car. So I usually travel with a small carry-on and then either a backpack or just a tote bag. I take clothes that I can wash easily in the sink, and if I'm in a hotel, that I can hang and they'll dry quickly overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Wear things like that you can mix and match in a lot of different outfits, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really the best tip I can give you for packing. you know, there's a lot of rules about how many liquids or how many ounces of liquid you can take on the plane and things. And so just, you know, I went to Europe for a month and I just took small travel things and they lasted me the whole entire time.
Okay.
So you should be able to get away with a small travel bag for your shampoo and body wash and things like that.
Oh, good. Okay, I had a quick question for you in regards to the particular liquids. If it's in my checked bag, is that going? Are the rules still fairly
No,
tight?
the rules are different.
Okay.
So check bag, you can take whatever you want.
Okay.
As long as it's not like hazardous materials, explosives, things. But you can, if you want to take your 86-ounce thing of shampoo and conditioner, you can. I wouldn't recommend it.
I feel like
They
that
have
would
a little
take up
bit
very
less
limited space.
weight limits for luggage when you check bags to go to Europe. It's, I think, 50 pounds.
Okay.
And they're pretty sticklers about that.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's not the 2-ounce rule or 3-ounce rule, whatever it is, when you take carry-on bags.
Okay. Okay. I have a carry-on that I'm gonna bring, and it's a backpack, and I have all my electronics in there.
Yeah.
So I was gonna kind of try and avoid bringing the liquids in that bag. So
Yeah.
that's why.
So
I
if
was
you're
wondering.
checking luggage, then put all of your liquids and things in that.
Okay.
And then I would recommend also putting them inside a Ziploc bag because a lot of times the pressure from the airplane can cause them to explode, and then you get there and you've got shampoo all over everything.
Right.
And the other thing I would say is, do you have layovers?
I do. I have one layover. I'm gonna be in JFK on the way there and Detroit on the way back.
Okay. So the other smart travel tip, and this goes whether you travel domestic or international, especially when you have a layover, is to make sure that you pack a change of clothes in your carry-on bag. Take like things you need, like medicines that you might need. If you wear contact lenses, you want to have an extra set of contact lenses and your contact lens small thing of solution, and a change of clothes and a change of underwear. Because if your luggage gets lost, and luggage does get lost, it could be days before you have your luggage with you. And so it's really nice to just have a change of clothes. Plus, if you've never traveled on an overnight flight overseas, it doesn't matter how, if you could shower before you get on the airplane, and by the time you land in Europe, you're going to look like you've been traveling for a week. So you're going to want to get freshened up, and you can do that in the airport, or you can do it when you get to your destination. But usually like a shower and a change of clothes as soon as you land is a good way to start the day.
Oh, that's good to know. One thing that I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube, kind of like, all right, people that travel a lot, what would their suggestions be? One thing, wrap your checked bag. That's a really good idea. Thank you, Jack. One thing that I have been watching a lot, I watched Ingrid Nilsson. She's one of the girls that I enjoy a lot on YouTube. She's a beauty guru, and she's just kind of like a life hacker, and she's just really, really great. And she travels a lot for her job and for everything else. And she suggested a bunch of different things to do for packing. She said one thing that she would recommend is bringing some wipes.
Always have wipes.
She said, make sure that you have just a little bit of makeup. She says she normally gets on the train or on the plane without makeup on, but then like an hour before landing in her final destination.
That's really great. That is a really great tip because, like I said, it doesn't matter how good you look when you board the plane. When you get off, you are not going to look good. I always carry wipes with me. When I went to France in 2008, I just went for a long weekend and I didn't have a lot of stuff with me, and I didn't pack any wipes or napkins or anything in my bag. And not on the flight, but at the time I was really sick and I had problems with my gallbladder, and I flew Air France, and they feed you a lot of cheese on Air France. And so when I landed, I was really sick and I had to take a 3-hour train ride to get to my destination. And I was really sick on the train, and there was no tissue in the bathroom on the train.
What?
And so that was a really awful experience.
Oh, that's miserable.
And so I will spare you the details of that trip. But after that, I was like, I will never travel without wet ones and like Cottonelle wipes and things like that, and just napkins and tissues. They will really come in handy. And the other thing is, they don't really do a good job of cleaning the plane in between flights, and so you can get sick really easily. There's a lot of germs, especially on the tray. And on your overnight flights, unlike our domestic flights, they do feed you. They feed you a nice dinner when you take off, and then they'll feed you breakfast in the morning before you land. So I always bring wet ones with me, and I wipe all the tray table and everything around my seat, the armrest down, and that's a big help.
Oh, good. Now, one thing that I've been concerned about, I injured my knee a couple of years ago, but it still acts up, especially when I'm sitting in one position for a really long time. I don't know what seat I have on the plane, and
So you don't know if you're
no,
on the
I
aisle or
don't.
in the middle.
I do not. I called and I said I put in a request to have an aisle where I could put my left knee out, so I would need to be on the right side
Okay.
in order to have that aisle. And they said that they would try, but it wasn't necessarily guaranteed, and I get that. But if for any reason I don't get the aisle seat and I have to sit in the middle seat or window seat, do you have any recommendations for like how to stay comfortable when you're sitting up for so long?
Yeah. Get up and move around. And everyone on the plane is going to be doing it. So there's not going to be a problem with people getting upset because you're climbing over them. I mean, unless they're asleep.
Mhm.
So, yeah, get up and move around as much as you can. There are other exercises that you can do, and I'm sure you can probably look them up online to stretch your legs and to tighten your butt. And because I find less than my legs getting uncomfortable, my tailbone starts to hurt because there's not a lot of cushion on those seats.
Mm-hmm.
And so, 8 or 9 hours in a seat like that, and you're really starting to hurt. So,
yeah. But
get up and walk around. The other nice thing about international flights is a lot of people do get up. The cabin is a little bit bigger. Usually, I don't know. The last time I went to Europe, it was a small plane, like a 737, and I was really surprised that it was like 3 seats and 3 seats with just one aisle up in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Usually with the big international flights, it's usually like 5 seats in the middle with 2 seats on either side and 2 aisles. And there's a lot of places to walk around. And at any time, if you want to drink, because they do have the drink service, but you can get up and go to the back of the plane, and there's usually somebody back there, and you can get a drink or whatever. Just stretch your legs, walk around, and a lot of people do that during the flight when it's a long haul, like international.
That's good to know. Do you have? I've already booked my flight. Obviously, I'm flying through KLM, which is
wonderful. That's the Dutch Airlines,
yes.
right? Netherlands. Mm-hmm. I prefer the foreign carriers when I go to Europe. I feel like they have a much classier service. The food is better. Everything about the flight is better. The staff is better. I've flown Delta. I've flown American. I've flown Lufthansa, and I've flown Air France. And I would prefer the international carriers over the domestic ones.
Okay. That's good to know. Just, I guess more for future. We had talked about that a little bit before, and you'd mentioned that, which is one of the reasons why I found a lot of great Delta flights, and I was like, well, she said it's better to do an international one, like which ones? And KLM is like run by Delta, but it is an international.
Yeah, they're usually like the Star Alliance. So I know the Air France flight that they used to take out of Philadelphia to go to France now is a Delta flight.
Oh, really?
They partner up, the Star Alliance partners up, and so it's harder now unless you go like a KLM or something that's kind of like out there. And you may be surprised. You may get to JFK and you may be on a Delta plane, even though it's KLM flight.
Mm-hmm.
It may end up being a Delta plane. So
okay.
Prepare yourself. It might be a domestic plane.
That's fine. I'll figure it out as I go.
Busy. So some other things about, because we're still talking about packing and the flight itself. Do you have do you know what that is?
I have no idea.
That's like one of those large scarves.
Oh, yeah, I do have one of those.
A lot of people bring them. They give you blankets and pillows in the plane. They're a little sketchy for me. I'm like, I don't want to pick up any bugs. Even though they're like sometimes in a little packet. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they clean that.
Right.
And so I usually bring like a wrap blanket during and so I have found that that's a really good tip. And I always bring a neck pillow with me. Some people don't like lugging it around, but I find that I use it, and I even use it when I get to where I'm going. Sometimes it's just comfortable to sleep with that as well.
Okay. Yeah, I my neck has been hurting a lot lately, so that's one that I've been going around trying to find a good neck pillow because I haven't made that purchase yet. But
I don't know. They don't have any good neck pillows because you can't really put it behind your neck because then you're kind of tilting forward. So usually I like wrap it around the side and sort of do like this, put my head down this way.
Mm-hmm.
But no matter what you do, you end up with a stiff neck after all the night on the flight. And I don't know if you know this, but like most of the long-haul international flights, every seat back has a small television, and there's usually like on-demand movies, and so that really kills the time. Not so much on the way over because it's an overnight flight, and so I try to sleep as best I can. But on the way back, when it's like you're traveling, it's usually a longer flight coming back to the States because you're getting a headwind, and so. I just find that I spend the day watching movies. Makes the flight go by really fast.
That's good. That's good. One thing. Oh, I had a question for you in regards to that. What would you recommend for like keeping? So I've been told get a little bit of sleep on the plane, but don't get too much because then that
Right. Kind of messes with your time clock
Yes.
there, and you're going to be an 8-hour difference to Europe when you get there.
mhm.
Do try to sleep a little bit, because unless you're a pro at staying up for like 2 straight days, you're going to be really exhausted, and you need to kind of be alert when you land. Everything's going to be in a different language, and you're going to be hearing different languages spoken, and so you really kind of want to be alert so that you can make it through customs, because even though your friend's picking you up, you have to get out of the airport.
Right.
And everything will be in German and English, but still, it's good to have a little bit of rest. You may not be able to sleep really well. Some of the flights I've taken have given little packets that have like eye masks and earplugs. But if you have some of those yourself, I would pack those as well, because there can be a lot of noise. The noise from the flight itself is distracting, but then with people getting up and down, and if there's children on the plane, sometimes that can be a little noisy.
Okay. Another thing is, do you have any recommendations for like medications that are good to take on a flight? I normally get like really bad earaches if I fall asleep towards one side, because then that's just a little off, and I cannot get rid of the earaches. So do you have any like ideas for how to
What would you normally
stave
take?
that off? Well, I mean, I take ibuprofen when I have pain, but I don't. It
You
doesn't
can take
normally.
stuff like that. Like, take it before you leave, and then it'll help you not have the pain while you're having the flight, and you can take another dose when you land.
Okay.
You should be okay.
Okay. Do you have any recommendations for how to kind of keep not happening, as far as like getting that earache?
yeah. Chew gum. That's what I'm gonna tell you. Chew
Yeah.
gum or eat. But like I said, they usually feed you really well on the plane with a full dinner and a breakfast in the morning. So we should be okay.
Perfect. I think those are the biggest concerns for me. Oh yeah, I remembered another one. Foreign currency. I need to get a little bit of an exchange there. Where's the best place to do that? What's the best way?
Well, I found the best way to do it is to do it here in the States before you leave, and not through like the currency exchange places that are in the airport. Like, they don't have good rates.
Okay.
The best way to spend money in Europe is to do it with a credit card or a debit card, because the banks will do the exchange behind the scenes, and they usually have very competitive rates. But you do want to have some cash with you. You're going to need to have the euro.
Mhm.
And the European money is a little bit different. Like, the $1 and $2, they're not bills, they're coins.
Okay.
And then they have like 5, 10, 20, 50, 100. But you're going to need to have change, because some of the things that I kind of had read about it, but that time that when you don't have a nickel to use a toilet in a train station and you're begging people, does anyone have a nickel? Does anyone have a nickel? I'm going to wet my pants if you don't give me a nickel. A lot of the European, especially in like train stations and restaurants and things like that, they're either you have to buy something to use their bathroom, or you have to pay to get into the bathroom. Some of the stalls themselves have coin things, some have attendants. Even rest stops along the highway, there's usually an attendant there, and so you have to get accustomed to being able to pay to go to the bathroom. And so I would recommend going with a little bit of pocket change. AAA, if your family has AAA membership, you can order money through AAA, but now you only have 6 days, so I don't know if it'll be enough time to get over there and do it. I would check and see if any of your banks here locally do money exchange. Sometimes you just have to call them and they have to order it. It's not like you can walk in and say, I need, 100 euro. Right. But definitely bring pocket change.
Okay, that's good to know. And I can use my debit card. That
you can use your debit card. I would let your bank know before you leave that you're traveling overseas. A lot of even phone apps, your phone app for the bank now has a little thing where you can say, I'm going to be in these locations from this date to this date, and then they won't flag your card for fraud. Because that would be the worst thing, is you get over there and you have no way to get money, or you can't do an exchange.
Okay, those are good things to know. Someone else suggested bring hand sanitizer. I definitely think that's great. I believe my bank does do exchanges. I use Zions Bank, which is just a local one.
I would call them tomorrow and say, because sometimes it takes a couple days, because like they don't usually have the foreign currency there. Right. You have to get it from somewhere. I would call and ask them.
I'll do that
and see if you have enough time to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So now we've kind of covered some do's and don'ts for travel. I kind of want to hear just some of your stories because you have been over there a couple times now, and I feel like you have some great stories, and I would love to kind of
learn from my mistakes. So here's some things. So a lot of people, and I haven't really traveled in Germany. I've flown through Frankfurt before, but I know in Italy, especially like in Rome, everyone's like, there's pickpockets, and they'll be able to easily identify you as an American, and some of those things are true, and some of them aren't. So don't bring your fanny pack. Please don't bring a fanny pack. If you act like a European, you'll just blend right in. So a lot of Europeans wear scarves, so bring a scarf. And just be mindful of your surroundings. I've always carried a purse with me. I've never had any problems. I've never been pickpocketed. I've never had anything stolen. I know other people who have. But I think if you walk confidently and act like you belong there, most people will just leave you alone. As far as like your passport, this is another thing that I don't think people know. In the United States, you can travel anywhere you want to go. You can check into any hotel. They usually will ask for an identification when you check in. They'll look at your driver's license and make sure that you match the credit card that you're using. But in Europe, they actually, if you go to a hotel, I don't know if you're going to be staying at a hotel anywhere, but most hotels in Europe are required by law. They'll take your passport and then they register you with the local police there, and then they'll bring your passport back to you. But nearly every place I've ever stayed, they've collected my passport when I checked in and then have brought it back to me later. And so you have the freedom to travel around, but the government will know where you are and where you're staying. So that's one thing. Be mindful of leaving things in your room, or if you travel anywhere, especially things like your passport, because you're going to need to have that to get back in the country. Mm-hmm. So always keep that close by and keep an eye on it.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any recommendations for maybe food that would be? I mean, you've never actually been to Germany, but like Europe in general. No, but Europe in general.
So like, stay away from all the touristy stuff, because a lot of that is geared. Like, I think the one time I went to Rome, we ate at like the Hard Rock Cafe, and I'm so irritated that we did that. Why would I go to the Hard Rock Cafe? Go off the beaten path. Go to the little towns and villages and go eat at some place that's not like, a big chain restaurant or something very touristy. Because if you're in a big city, like I know you said you're going to Berlin, mm-hmm. If you go to like the real touristy restaurants, they usually charge more, and then it's just usually not that good. I'm sure there probably are, but I have found in my travels that the smaller restaurants off the beaten path usually are more like what the people that live there eat. And you're going to be with a friend who lives in Germany, so I'm sure he's going to be able to make good recommendations. My favorite story about food in my travels was the first time I went to Italy in 2004. It was my mom and I and a guy that I met online who has the same ancestry that we do in one village. And so he and his wife had picked us up. We took a train down to the south, and we rented a car, and we went to Marche di Zernia. And we were just getting some records in the town office. And it was Good Friday, and we were really hungry. It was lunchtime. And so we were looking for a place to eat. And this village is really small. There's maybe like 100 or 200 people that live there. And as we were exiting the town, we saw like a little restaurant on the side of the road. And so we decided to go. And it was kind of a dive. Mm-hmm. And we went in and sat down. And there's a few tables. And there was a couple of kind of rough-looking guys there. And there were no menus. There were no wait staff. Like, we waited and waited. And finally, somebody came over and we said, can we have a menu? And the guy said, there's no menu. This is what we cooked today. Do you want it or not? And so you had two choices. You could pick from a plate called frutti di mare, which is like all kinds of seafood. Mm-hmm. And then the other one was like a veal chop. And then, of course, pasta. Because in Italy, they always have pasta for the first plate. And so we had this really delicious lunch in this dive. Like, I went to the bathroom and it was like a hole in the floor. That's the other thing in Europe that's surprising. A lot of times you go to the bathroom in public places and it's literally a hole in the floor. So prepare yourself, because you might experience that. Right. And then when we were all taking turns paying for the meals, and that day it was my turn, and my companions had gone out to the car to get ready to go, and I went up to the counter to pay, and of course there's no menu, so there was no bill. So I went up to the register, and I mean, like, I've been speaking Italian for like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how much was lunch? And the old man was like, He knew we were American. He said, for you, €60. And I paid it. I didn't even think about it. And I was like, wow, that's like €20 per person. And when you think about the exchange, that would have came out to be like $25, $26 per person for lunch.
Oh my gosh.
And so when I got out into the car, I said to my friend Francesco, I'm like, hey, that guy charged me $60 for that lunch. And he was like, what? You got ripped off. And so the whole way when we were leaving town, there's this thing in Italy, they call it putting the maloiks on you. So they do the devil horns. And the whole way down the road, he was putting the maloiks on this guy. And so this last time when I was visiting in September, that little restaurant's closed down, but I think it reopened up the road, and I had lunch there. And again, I was like, no menu. So I was like, give me a recommendation. I had no idea what was going to come out, but it was like pasta and something else, and it ended up being okay. But yeah, so the little mom and pop dives, in the little towns are usually pretty good. But your friend should be able to make recommendations.
Yeah, I'm hoping, my friend, I genuinely have no idea what we're doing on this trip. I've made a couple suggestions. I said, okay, these are some of the things that I want to make sure that I do while I'm there. I'm planning on filming. I'll be putting up a vlog, hopefully every day, potentially every other day, just depending on internet connection and depending on the time I have to edit. But I want to kind of put up a video every day of my trip.
That's making me think, okay, so you're going to be using your cell phone?
A little bit.
Yeah. So what are you planning to do? Because that's going to be really expensive. The first time I went, my husband's like, well, it's like $25 a text message, so you can just text us. When I got home, I got a bill for $100 because it was a lot more than 25 cents per text message. So what I usually do when I go to Europe now is put my phone on airplane mode as soon as I land, and I never take it off of airplane mode. Because unexpected calls, unexpected texts, things like that, any data that downloads, especially like now our phones, they download email, they pull things from the internet, and that data will be really expensive in Europe.
Yeah, that was something that I was very concerned about. I was going to go into Sprint and just be like, all right, so I'm going overseas.
Yeah,
how do I avoid this?
They'll try to sell you like an international plan. And sometimes you can put that on your phone just for the trip for like a month. The other thing you can do when you go over there is, if you had like a spare phone, you could go into like, there's the foreign carriers like Orange or TIM. I know that they're in both France and Italy, so I'm assuming they're in Germany too. And sometimes you can just they have what they're called tourist plans for like 30 days, and it might be like €30, and then it's unlimited text and data. So if you can do that, and I tried to do that when I went to Italy. I brought my old iPhone with me, and I checked out. I was so happy that the big TIM flagship store in the airport at Fiumicino was in the terminal that I was landing in. And I got there, and I was so excited. And they said, we're sorry, our computers are down. We can't sell you anything.
Oh, no!
And so I ended up not having a spare phone. And so I just put it on airplane mode and just stayed on Wi-Fi the whole time.
Okay, that's perfect.
But there's Wi-Fi everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I was told. My friend said that there's free Wi-Fi in Germany or something. And it's something that I shouldn't have to worry about too much. So,
but definitely couldn't put it in airplane mode. So,
okay.
Yeah, don't take it off.
Perfect. That's good to know. Would you recommend just doing that as soon as I leave the JFK airport, or would you recommend?
Well, you're gonna have to shut your phone off or put it in airplane mode to fly. But yeah, I would just put it in airplane mode once you leave and get out of U.S. airspace, and just leave it there until you land. Come back.
Okay, I can do that for sure.
And then you'll get like 1,600 text messages and.
Yeah. I told a bunch of my friends, I said, if you want to reach me, you're going to have to use Facebook, but preferably don't, because I'm not going to respond anyway. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to like kind of shut out communication.
Your generation's all Snapchat now, and so that'll work off of Wi-Fi.
I love Snapchat.
Just don't, okay, promise me, because you told me you were going to go to a concentration camp. Please don't selfie at the concentration camp. I see these things online, and I'm like, people, that is really wrong. Yeah. There's like wrong on every level.
I agree.
This is a solemn place. And
I agree.
So no Snapchatting, no selfies from Auschwitz.
I agree with that. That's, like I said, I'm going to film a video every single day, but the day that I go to the concentration camp, I believe that I'll be spending the entire day traveling there and back, because it is not very close. But the day that I do that, I'm planning on not filming anything really, and then just getting back and like talking a little bit about like what I thought and like what my feelings were about that, because I feel like it is a very solemn place, and it's a place where you have to pay your respects to to everyone that died there. And I mean, World War II was a period of time that I myself was very fascinated with. I wanted to understand everything about it, and so through my junior and senior year of high school and even into college, I would constantly be studying. I would study Jewish literature, I'd study German literature, I'd study American literature. Like, I wanted to know what was happening during that entire period of time. And so it's definitely, I feel like I have to go to a concentration camp, because it's the only way to really be able to pay my respects to what happened.
And I think it's the same thing, like I said, about when you visit the land of your ancestors. When you're actually standing there in the place, there's a whole different feel than there is reading about it in a book. You just have a totally different experience. So,
yeah, for sure. I think it's gonna be very, very interesting. The whole trip. I don't know. You guys know I've explained this to Michelle, but I don't have any idea what we're doing. I put in a couple recommendations. Well, not recommendations, requests, because I was asked, like, is there anything specific you want to see? And I was like, I don't know much about Germany. Like, I probably don't know where the best places to go visit are anyway.
Well, we're going to 6 days to figure out where your family's from.
Exactly.
So once you do that, then,
there we go.
Make a trip there. Do they drive on the left side of the road in Germany?
I don't know. I haven't actually asked that question.
I'm trying to remember. Like, France and Italy, they drive on the right side like America. And I just, like, the first few times I went to Italy, my mom always drove because I never learned how to drive stick. And then I bought a car that had stick in it a few years ago. So this last time I went, I was able to drive a car. And now I can know my way around. I've been there so many times now, I know my way around. So it was really kind of fun driving. Except for my first day, I got there like midnight, and my cousin who owns the bed and breakfast I stayed at, I couldn't find the bed and breakfast on the map. So he told me to meet him in the piazza, which was no problem. What he failed to tell me was the evening that I got there, there was a huge wine festival, and everybody, and this village is really small, and the roads are really small, and I wanted a small. Every time I go, I get a little teeny tiny car. This time they gave me a Fiat 500L, which is like the 4-door Fiat, and it's kind of like driving a minivan. And so I was kind of angry about that, because I thought I could maneuver this thing in these little villages. So it's midnight, and I'm driving up the hill. And it's kind of like a conch shell. The town just goes like this up till you get to the tip top where the piazza is. And as I'm driving up, I see a lot of cars coming down, a lot of people coming down, and it's midnight. And I have no idea what's going on. But once you're on there, you're keeping going. There's no place to turn around. You're driving up. So I'm making my way up to the top, and I kind of get to the bottom of the road where the piazza is. And it's blocked off because they have, tents set up and all this food, and now I'm stuck there. I've been in Italy. I've been up all night. I've been in Italy for I don't know, like a day, not even a day, and because I flew from. So I'm trying to think to myself, how was it midnight when I got there? Because usually when you come from the States, you're flying overnight. You get there in the morning. I flew from France, and so I got there like 9:30 at night, and so this is midnight, and so I'm stuck at this road, and you can keep going straight. There's like all little side roads, but there were so many cars, and they're all jammed in. And those Italian people, they'll it doesn't matter how tight the cars are, they'll maneuver around. Well, I couldn't go back, and I couldn't go to the side, and eventually I was like, I'm gonna have to go straight. And I've never even walked down that road, let alone driven down the road. So I start making my way around, and it's pitch black, and all of a sudden fireworks start going off over my head, and I was like gonna pee my pants, because I was like, I'm gonna go off the edge of a cliff. This village sits high up in the mountain, and there's like no curb. There's like maybe like a small little concrete curb, and there's cars all parked along the side of the road. So I have no idea as I'm driving through, and then when I did finally make my way around, and I parked at my cousin's house, which is all the way at the bottom, and then I walked back up. But I was like, never doing that again. And then the next day I came up and I was taking pictures. Like, literally one thing I went through was like the width of my car. Like, I'm surprised that I didn't like scrape the mirrors. Oh my God. And I don't know how I made it through there, but I was like, okay, well, I've done the hardest thing, the first thing when I got here. So I think driving is going to be a piece of cake now, no matter where I go.
There you go. That's a way to look at it for sure. That's hilarious. I love that. I'm not planning on driving.
Yeah.
Thank heavens.
But Germany would be fun because you have the Autobahn and there's no speed limit. You can
Mhm.
drive as fast as you want.
Oh gosh.
And most of the places in Europe, the speed limit's like what would be like 80 miles an hour. So.
Mhm. That's good. That's not bad at all. No, I'm excited. I have a friend who recently got back from Germany after serving, doing some service for the church out there. And she was telling me, she's like, okay, when you get there, you're gonna want to look around, but don't. She's like the first day, just focus on where you are. Don't focus on what's around you, because that's going to establish your dominance. Isn't quite the right word, but like where you were saying, like
Yeah, be
being
aware.
confident,
Yeah,
being
being confident, be aware of your surroundings, blend in. I'm like, the first time I went to Italy, it was embarrassing because everyone was like, they knew you were American. And again, this was like 2004, 2005, because they like Americans. I guess Europeans have this view of Americans, like, and we wear white sneakers. Don't wear white sneakers. Don't even bring white sneakers.
perfect. I won't.
Don't look like a tourist. Don't wear a fanny pack. Don't look American. Try to look European, and it's really easy. You millennials, you're all fashion forward anyway. So I would just say bring a scarf and a light jacket, and you'll be fine.
Okay.
You'll be fine. Just
That's good.
be mindful of your surroundings.
For sure. Do you have any recommendations? I don't speak German. I know how to say one phrase. And it's the first phrase that was taught to me on the app Duolingo.
I
So
love Duolingo.
I love it too, but this is the first phrase, okay? It's Ich bin eine Frau. That means I am a woman.
You're a woman.
Why on earth do I need to tell
I
people
know.
that? like that's the only thing I know. And then I know how to say Wasser, because that's water, but that's about it. And I'm like, great.
Learn a few phrases, and maybe even just get like a phrase book or a small
Okay.
German to English dictionary. You know, again, you're going to be with somebody pretty much most of the time, so you'll have somebody to translate for you. But you are going to want to know, like, where's the bathroom? That's a common one. You're going to want to know that. How much does it cost? Can I? Just the standard things. You know, water is a good one. You're going to want to be able to ask for those type of things. Yeah, I think you're going to be okay with that.
Okay. Is there anything I'm forgetting? I feel like I had other questions and I like wanted to ask them, but I cannot remember off the top of my head what they were. Yeah, I guess that's everything then that I had.
Well, some other things that I know we talked about this earlier is the electrical system in Europe is different, and it's not just from like, even within Europe, some of the plugs and the electric things are different. So I bought a hairdryer when I was in France, thinking I was going to be able to use it in Italy, and when I got to Italy, the plug didn't work. And so having a really good converter is really smart. You can buy just a small one that, the small ones have like different configurations. You can turn it and you plug your plug into one side, and then it'll pop out whatever you need to plug into wherever you are. So whether that's Asia or Europe, usually like you buy one converter and it's good for all over the world. That's cool. But like I said, I'll lend you the one that I have that it has several American outlets and USB ports, because the thing you're going to want is to be charging your phone. Oh, and the other thing is, if you have like a backup charger for your phone, absolutely bring it.
I do actually. Your son gave it to me.
I was going to say, it doesn't say the sharper image though.
No.
Yes, backup charger for your phone, because sometimes when you're laid up in an airport for hours and hours and hours, you don't always have access to. Some airports now have the places where you can plug your phone in and you can charge it.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's really busy, sometimes you can't get to that. And the last thing you want is for your phone to die.
True.
So always make sure it's charged, and always have a backup power supply for that.
Yeah.
As well as your power converters.
That's something I found. One thing that I've been doing a lot. I mean, I use this particular battery charger thing all the time. Really, I do. And what I do is I charge that at night, and then I charge my phone while I'm at work, because when I'm at work, I'm really close to an outlet, and so I just plug my phone in. So that battery is almost fully charged always. And then I always have like my phone plugged in when it's in my purse. I mean, it's not always plugged in, but I like when it's low, I'm like, all right, cool. I have it in my purse. It's right there. It's easy to access.
Battery backups are important.
Especially where the phones now don't have removable batteries, and you can just like replace the batteries that there were.
how are you about like interesting foods? Are you like kind of a picky eater?
Oh no,
Or you eat anything?
I'm
You're
kind of that person.
adventurous?
Yeah, I'll just eat whatever
Like
is
fear
there.
factor, because I don't know
I
with
don't wanna
Germany
eat
because
bugs.
I don't know if you eat bugs, but like we live in an area of Pennsylvania that's very heavily influenced with German culture, and so like they eat things like pig stomachs and intestines, and I'm just like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm not too. My biggest thing is if I don't know what it is, I can eat it no problem, and I can't even psych myself out because I don't know what it is. If I do know what it is, I can psych myself out, but I'm not going to be inhospitable. I'm one of those people that like if I order food, I'm gonna eat it because I don't see the point. Like unless it is legit making me sick.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm allergic to chocolate, which kind of sucks, but at the same
That is
time,
kind of a rough thing to be allergic to.
but I also I may be allergic to it and it makes me sick, but I still will eat it in small portions.
So that's a good question because you asked me about medications to bring for your flight. So if you have like food intolerances and things that you might need to take Benadryl, or if it gives you like if dairy and stuff like that upsets your stomach, you may want to make sure you bring like some Imodium AD and Benadryl with you to counter any of those things, because that I think that's the hardest thing is we don't realize, like, even though like you eat Italian food here, you're in a different country with a different water system and things. It's not so much the food, but usually the water. Germany should be pretty safe to drink tap water, but if you can, like, drink bottled water.
A lot of the German water
stomach,
is seltzer water.
Yeah, and that would, yeah. And like everywhere in Europe, they drink bottled water. Like you just buy like a 6-pack of like big tall bottles, either with fizz or without fizz. But hardly anybody drinks tap water in Europe. I don't very rarely see that.
Yeah, that's what my friend was telling me. He's like, we only really use tap water when we're cooking, because then any impurities will kind of be cooked out.
Yeah.
We're hoping that there's not going to be something that makes me super sick. So.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, like, if you have a kind of sensitive stomach, like where you're traveling, make sure you know where the closest bathroom is, or if you're going to take a trip, make sure you have the route planned out. I know that kind of sounds stupid, but the last thing you want to be is like on a train with no toilet tissue, or in a car where you're driving on a highway where there's only like rest stops every 45 miles or so, where you just want to make sure that you're not feeling too poorly.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the thing I'm most concerned about. Lately, my stomach has been just a little more sensitive. I've been getting I'll have days where I just feel really sick.
Yeah.
And then I'm fine after that. And it's not contagious. I don't think it's anything that anybody else has. It's not like I have the flu.
Yeah.
It's just simply my stomach just doesn't like me, and so I can't hold anything down. And then
well, it's not like you're going to India or something. India, that's a tough one, but
that
Germany,
curry.
you should be okay. Not so much the curry, it's the water.
The water in
India is questionable. Yeah.
Oh man, I'll
It's
tell
on
you.
my bucket list. I haven't gone. I have a team in India that I work with, and I'm the only person in my office who's like, I want to volunteer to go to India. They're like, no, we've all been there. You don't want to go, but I really want to go.
I want to go. I'm a huge fan, mostly just the culture.
Yeah.
I love like Bollywood films and everything else, so I would just
someday. I'm gonna get there.
There you go.
I say, like, every year I make a new bucket list. I've already done almost everything that was on my bucket list. So every year I have to kind of create a new bucket, and I say when I die, I'm gonna leave like all this empty buckets behind me. I just want to do it, and
That's
so
awesome.
that goes back to my quote. Get busy living or get busy dying. And there's something about living it and doing it and having those experiences, and so
yeah, that's one of the biggest. I mean, I planned this trip 11 months ago. Back in April, I was talking to my friend. We were just talking on Skype, and I had mentioned that I'd never left the country. I mentioned that Germany was one of the places I wanted to go, and he was just like, well, like, you'll have a place to stay.
It's really brave of you to go by yourself.
Oh, man.
Getting from here to there. I mean,
I've never been out of the country, and I think that's the thing I'm most apprehensive about is just the traveling.
The first time I flew to Paris, and I flew into Paris, and then I had to take a train from the Paris airport to Nantes, which is about 3.5 hour train ride. And so, like, not knowing how to maneuver any of that, and I don't speak French, so I had to find my way to the train station and the airport. I had to figure out how to buy the ticket. I had to figure out, because like the trains, sometimes they have like little machines you have to stick your ticket in. I didn't know any of that, and so I was like super nervous. But Now I just buy my tickets online before I leave and print them out and just take everything with me. But now I've been through that so many times, like I don't have any problem traveling, but the first time I was really nervous. Really
Yeah, I
nervous.
believe that. I'm definitely apprehensive about it for sure. About a week ago, I was like, Mom, I can't believe I'm going. Like, what was I thinking?
You're
I'm
gonna be
going
fine.
across
You're
the
gonna be
like
fine.
going across the world. And I was really kind of feeling nervous. And she's like, well, you don't have to go. That's kind of, my mom was like, you don't have to. Like, it's up to you. It's your choice. It's like, yeah, but I've been talking about it for a long time. My pride will hold me to this. Like, I'm going because I said I was going.
You're gonna have a great time. You will.
I'm super
I
excited.
think you'll be okay.
And
like, English is like the language is spoken all around the world. So everywhere you go, there'll be if there's signs, especially in the travel locations, they'll be in English as well.
Yeah.
And you can usually ask. Most Europeans speak English.
And that's one of the things my friend was telling me that just came back from Germany. She said a lot of the younger generation is required to learn English in school. So it's the older generations that won't necessarily know much English.
And I think in Germany, they're really cool about it. France, they might know, but then they act like they don't speak English. It's kind of their thing. They act all aloof and everything. But I never forget the time I was at the train station in Paris by myself, and I was waiting on the track to board the train, and a woman came up and asked me something in French. And I was like, oh, I don't speak French. I'm American. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I thought you were French. And I was like, yes, I am not mistaken for an American.
There you go.
So,
there you go. Oh, that's good, though. No.
Wearing a scarf. That's the thing.
I've got a couple. Do you say bland scarves or decorated scarves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a scarf.
Okay, deal.
And they wear them all year round. Just be like 85 degrees out in the summer, and they're wearing a scarf.
Perfect. I've been warned it's going to be a little windy, so I need to make sure that I bring a windbreaker jacket so that I don't freeze, is what I've been told. Well, thank you so much for joining me for the podcast.
Yeah.
I think we're going to feel like we're getting to a position where we're lulling a little bit. So
what? Look, we're already burned now.
Yep, exactly. It was a good conversation. It was a good topic, and I've learned a lot. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
It's been okay. So I'm gonna say this really quick for all of you guys. I met Michelle. Was it a week ago or was it 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
She made a delicious dinner. Italian
Homemade
pasta.
pasta.
It was amazing.
Bolognese.
I loved it. And so we were all hanging out, and she had watched the episode of the podcast that Nicholas was on, and
then I watched one with Carson Food, right?
Oh yeah, you had watched that one too. Yep. And so it was just a lot of fun. She had mentioned that, and I was like, well, I'm actually looking for someone the week before I leave that can talk about travel. And she started just telling me all these stories, and I was like, please be on my podcast. And I'm so glad that happened. I'm so glad we were able to make it work, even though we've both been under the weather today.
No, I'm sorry, went by pretty quick.
Yeah, it's been good, and I've learned a lot. So thank you very much.
And I didn't even tell you the story about the time my train caught on fire.
What? Okay,
Yeah.
you have to tell
We
the story.
gotta tell the story. I'll try to make
before
it quick. So first time we went to Italy, we took a train to the south, and then we rented a car, and then we had to take the train back. And our friend bought the tickets, and so he is legally blind. And when he got the tickets from the train station, he didn't read them, and we didn't find out until we were sitting there waiting to get on our train that the tickets that they gave us were actually for the day we arrived, not for the day we were trying to go back.
Oh no.
And we had rented a sleeper car. I mean, we had paid for a sleeper car. And so it was Good Friday, one of the busiest travel days in Italy. So we went up to the counter, and they said, well, we're sorry, it's your fault. You should have looked at the tickets when you got them. And there are no more sleeper cars, but we can give you like general seating. And so we didn't really have a choice about it. We had to take general seating tickets, and it's overnight 12-hour train ride. So if that wasn't bad enough, we boarded in the town of Cassino, which was right after Naples. The train originates in Naples. And then after that, we go up to Rome. And we had seats, and I don't know, if you haven't traveled in Europe or been on a European train, the only thing I can say is if you've seen Harry Potter, the trains are like that. So there's usually a hallway along the side, and then compartments, and 6 people can sit in, 3 seats that face each other. And so we had and the seats slide down and you can lay on them. So we had put them down and we were like, oh, we're going to just turn the lights off when we got to Rome and we're going to pretend like we're sleeping. Maybe nobody will bother us, but we were wrong. We were wrong about that. And these guys from Pakistan came in, and this was in 2004. So this is right after the Iraq War started. And they came in and turned the lights on, and they were really rude to us. Then as the train started going out of Rome, we could tell the train was really packed with people. Like they were packed in the hallways and everything. Well, they started talking, and I didn't really have a good command of the language, so I wasn't really participating in the conversation, but I could follow along with it well enough to hear my Italian friend speaking to them about the war. I heard President Bush's name, and then the one Pakistani guy looked at me and asked me if I was afraid of terrorists, and I was like pretty incensed, and I was like, no, I'm an American, and I'm not going to live in fear, and blah, blah, blah. And then the next thing you know, we heard this loud bang and our train stopped, and it was like midnight. We didn't know why the train stopped, and we were like near Perugia, and I pulled the window down and I look out, and there were literally flames shooting out the bottom of my train car, and I'm like, the train's on fire, everybody get off the train. So we grab our bags and we're trying to push off the train, but there were people just packed in the hallway of the car.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I'm screaming, I'm like, you stupid Italians, get off the train's on fire. And so we pushed our way down a little bit further, but we couldn't get off the train. They weren't letting anyone off the train, and at the time we didn't understand why, but we're in the middle of the train tracks in the middle of the night, and it was pitch dark, and if they let us out, we could get run over by a different train, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're stuck on this train. It was my train car that was on fire. So we pushed our way down the hall into another compartment, and 3 other Pakistani men came into the compartment. There are a lot of Pakistanis that live in the big cities in Italy. And I have nothing against Pakistanis, except for these guys. So they get in our compartment, and we go to the next train station, and never gave us an explanation why the train caught on fire. Didn't put us on a new train. Didn't let us off the train. I remember calling my husband and saying, my train's on fire. I might never see you again. I love you, And he's like in America going, I'm feeding dinner to the kids, and I'm like, she's calling me, telling me she might die. So it was very stressful. So once the train got going again, everything sort of calmed down. We turned the lights off, and I was sitting next to the wall where the window is, and then my friend was across from me, and my mom was next to him, and then these three Pakistani men. And it was April, but the train compartments have heat, and you can't control the heat. All you can do is put the window down, and it was really hot in there. And this guy had on like a parka, like a big down parka, and it was zipped all the way up to his neck.
Oh gosh.
And as we're going about a half hour after we finally get out, and everyone's covered in soot, and we smelled like burning train, and it was horrible.
Oh my
and
gosh.
So I was like, I'm gonna try and make the best of it. I'm gonna go to sleep. And all of a sudden I feel this guy's hand on my leg, and I thought maybe he fell asleep and his hand fell off the armrest because I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. And so I like kind of scooted over. I was like against the wall as far as I could go. And every time I moved, his hand moved with it. So I was like, okay, this guy's got his hand on my leg.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm panicking because my train just caught on fire with a bunch of guys who said, are you afraid of terrorists? And I'm afraid that he's going to like slit my throat or something. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Finally, my friend had been watching what was going on, and he was like, do you want to change seats? And I was like, yes, please. So he changed seats with me. And again, it was really hot. And so, I get up and I put the window down, and there's cool air coming in. And then the guy with his parka, he would get up and close the window. And I mean, literally after like an hour, I was like stripped down to almost my underwear because it was so hot and we smelled so bad. And it was like that for 12 hours. I don't think I slept a wink on that train.
Oh,
I was so scared. And I'm not afraid of terrorists, but I wasn't scared of this guy with his hand on my leg. And so my friend said to me, calamari mano, which means like octopus hands. And so even to this day, if I see him, he always says that to me. So it's kind of become a little joke in our family.
That's funny.
And I got to tell you, I've never been able to ride Trenitalia without having like PTSD. I took it once to Venice, and I was like, I can't take the train anymore. I need to learn how to drive so I can drive a car. And I've only ever rented cars.
Okay.
So
That's good to know.
yeah. So that's my Italian train story.
Oh my gosh. You had some crazy experiences.
And that was my first trip, my
Oh.
first 3 days in Italy, and I still come back. I've come back like to Europe 4 or 5 times since then, and I just love it. And you're gonna have a great time.
I'm so excited. It's going to be a blast. And I do appreciate you've made me feel a lot more comfortable just in thinking about it. I feel like I know a little bit more about what I'm going to do and how things are going to work. All right.
Yep.
So if you're okay, we're going to end this podcast then. I mean, we could keep
Thanks for
talking.
watching.
We could keep talking. I would love it. Okay, so now it is the point of the podcast where I get to ask my favorite question.
Oh.
It's the only question that I really participate in the particular podcast. And this is, what is your weekly obsession? So in the last week, what have you been most obsessed with?
Oh, chocolate covered almonds from Costco. They're turbinado sugar and sea salt and the thick coating of dark chocolate. And I'm pretty sure I ate the whole bag.
Oh my gosh. Nick's nodding off camera.
Yeah. Nick, well, I didn't eat the whole bag because Nick stole some. But yeah. That's been my obsession this week.
That's a great obsession.
And it's surprising because most people that know me would think that my obsession this week would have been Cafe Rio. But I haven't had Cafe Rio in almost 2 weeks.
Have you not? Wow,
No.
I'm surprised because Nick pointed out that is one of your favorite
It is one of my
places.
favorites. We have to go all the way to Maryland to get it at home. It's like a 2-hour drive. So
I didn't even know they had Cafe Rio there. I knew that we had it along the West Coast because it originated here in Utah.
yeah,
They
no,
moved it
some
to
Latter-day.
Phoenix
We
in
have a lot of
California.
Latter-day Saints that live near Washington D.C. So somebody bought the franchise and put it in there, and it's really funny because now out here in Utah, people that serve their missions in Pennsylvania have started franchises of Pennsylvania things like Rita's Water Ice, or
Uh-huh.
Rita's Italian Ice.
Uh-huh.
That started in Pennsylvania
Did it
near where I
really?
live. Yeah, and so that's out here in Utah now.
That's so
So,
fun.
Yeah.
That's way fun. I love the culture of that. I mean, I love culture everywhere, but I love how when like someone goes somewhere else, they bring that culture back with them, and then you have an intermix of everything. I think that's so fun. Definitely makes it a melting pot. I think the world has become a very big melting pot, and I think that's so much fun. Makes it a little less scary, a little less
Lots of
daunting
great
to go
culture here
places.
in Utah. I'm ready to go. So my friend took me to Moochie's in Salt Lake City for Philly cheesesteaks,
Oh man,
and they're the real deal.
yeah.
They are the real deal. So I'm like, I could literally move to Utah and not miss Pennsylvania now.
You'd have your sandwiches. You'd
Have
have
my
your
cheesesteak.
Italian ice.
Got my Italian ice. Maybe I could open a Philly soft pretzel business
Do
out here,
it.
and then we'd be great.
Perfect. Brilliant. And then I'll come visit you every day because I love soft pretzels, especially ones from Philadelphia. All right. So my weekly obsession, this is something that I was thinking about. I had a lot of things that I was kind of obsessed with over the week, but nothing that really like stood out to me. And then when I was thinking about it yesterday, I realized I was like, I got this Friday night, and it is something that I love and I'm so excited about. So I'm going to show the camera and then I'm going to explain what it is. It is the NYX matte lipstick in the color Butter. It's MLS 21 and I adore this. I decided to put it on today. It's a nude lipstick that adds a little bit of like a chocolatey butter-esque color, and I love it. For those people that know me really, really well, they know that I love lipstick. I'm a fan of very, very bright, vibrant colors. I was telling Nick, because he was with me when I went and bought the lipstick, all I need is green, blue, and black to like complete my collection of lipsticks, because then I will have every color. I don't have yellow, but I feel like yellow is a sickly color, so I'm not too worried about getting yellow lipstick.
Well, I just gotta say, as a mom, I'm a little disappointed that the answer to your question wasn't my son.
Definitely.
Sorry, Nick, I had to put that in there.
We've been spending a lot of time together. It's great. No, but I think that that's probably the thing that I became most obsessed with. And I was like, I have to make sure that I'm wearing that lipstick because I love it. It is so soft.
Are you wearing it now?
I am, yes.
I like it.
It's a soft color. It's not my normal. It's not my normal because I normally would wear like a bright red or something, especially when doing things on camera because I feel like you need to make something pop.
Yeah.
But I was like, meh, I don't care. So I love this lipstick. I'm going to be using it a lot. I also bought a darker red one that I love. It's a very deep red, also NYX matte. I was looking for matte lipsticks, and these are the two that I found that I am absolutely a fan of. So those are my weekly obsessions, or just the one. I like all my lipsticks, but that specific one is my weekly obsession. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. I know
You're
I thanked you a couple times, but this is the end. So now,
For real this time.
for real. Just remember, guys, to smile. Know that I love ya. Stay beautiful. And mwah!